This is SP65, The World Tomorrow with Herbert W. Armstrong. The date, January 10, 1985. Ambassador Television Production, Media Services for the Worldwide Church of God. Copyright 1985.
In May 1984, the Ambassador Foundation sponsored the first ever American tour by children from the People's Republic of China. The Little Ambassadors of Shanghai began their tour in California. They stayed on the Ambassador College campus in Pasadena. When they met the foundation's president, Herbert W. Armstrong, they immediately adopted him as their grandfather. Their formal American debut came later on the stage of the Ambassador Auditorium. The children presented a program of traditional Chinese music and dance in many locations across the country. They visited several major cities, including San Francisco and Washington, D.C., where they entertained guests of First Lady Mrs. Reagan in the East Room of the White House. The children visited the famous sites and historical monuments of America's capital city before their appearance at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. This historic first tour by these little ambassadors from Shanghai was a milestone in the development of renewed friendship between two great nations. At the conclusion of each performance, the Chinese children were joined on the stage by children from Imperial School in Pasadena. It underscored the importance of teaching children to work in harmony and cooperation if the world is ever to live in peace. The World Tomorrow. The Worldwide Church of God presents Herbert W. Armstrong, internationally recognized ambassador for world peace, visiting prominent leaders around the globe, discussing the cause of world problems, and proclaiming the good news of the world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Herbert W. Armstrong.
Prior to the visit of the Chinese children to the United States, I had been invited for the second time to come to China as a guest of the People's Republic for a meeting, a personal meeting with Deng Xiaoping, the unquestioned ruler over 1/4 of all of the people on the face of this earth. However, I was not able to make the trip until after the Chinese children had appeared here in the United States. And when I did, I wanted to especially talk to them in China about the importance of the educating and the training of children who will be the citizens ruling the world and the leaders in the world within the next couple of decades.
Mr. Armstrong was met in Beijing by an official delegation from the Soong Ching Ling Foundation and the Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries. Later that day, at a reception at the Great Hall of the People, Mr. Armstrong was welcomed by Madame Kang Keqing. Madame Kang is the widow of Marshal Zhu De, who, with Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai, was one of the most important leaders in the history of the People's Republic. After her husband's death, Madame Kang continued to work for her country and is considered to be China's First Lady today. She is responsible for the well-being of all of China's children and is the head of the Chinese Women's Federation. She serves as chairman of the Soong Ching Ling Foundation, one of China's leading children's educational and cultural organizations. Mr. Armstrong and his party were guests at a banquet held in their honor. The toast of welcome was given by Madam Kang Kiching. Mr. Armstrong then replied,
May I propose a toast to Madam Kang? The things that she has enunciated, that she stands for the children and world peace will have to come beginning with the children, because they are the citizens of tomorrow. In just 10, 15, 20 years, they will be the adults that will be in charge of all of our countries. And they are most important. And I'm so glad for the interest that you have in the children and all the young people.
A key event in Mr. Armstrong's 6 days in China was a meeting with Deng Xiaoping in the Great Hall of the People. The Chinese leaders have placed great emphasis on the cultural and educational needs of their country's hundreds of millions of children, and Deng Xiaoping serves as honorary chairman of the Soong Ching Ling Foundation. Mr. Armstrong presented the Chinese leader with a gift of Steuben crystal and a pictorial album of the Chinese Children's Tour of America. Deng Xiaoping discussed with Mr. Armstrong the future of China and the problems of achieving lasting world peace. Mr. Armstrong then explained that peace will only come through proper education, and particularly the education of children. Mr. Armstrong and his party later visited the home of the late Madam Soong Ching Ling, after whom the Chinese Children's Foundation is named. Madam Soong Ching Ling was the widow of Sun Yat-sen, the first president and founder of modern China. After Sun Yat-sen died in 1925, his widow, Soong Ching Ling, never remarried. She devoted the rest of her life to the service of her country. She is known affectionately as the grandmother of Chinese children because of her great love of children and the long years that she spent dedicated to their well-being. On the last evening in Beijing, Mr. Armstrong hosted a banquet for Madam Kang and other officials from the Soong Ching Ling Foundation at the State Guest House.
这个短的时间里面啊，也就是我们
The Ambassador Foundation has done quite a lot of work during such a short period.
美国来的朋友
And during this time, our guests and friends from the Ambassador Foundation have begun to build a golden bridge.
老少少都可以在这个
And all of us, the old, the middle-aged, and the young, can walk along this golden bridge and make friends on it.
朋友 可以吧？祝大家呀身体健康。
And to the health of all the friends present today. So your hands.
干杯！干杯！哦，坐下。
I would just like to say that we're living in a world of contrasts, a world of awesome progress, advancement in technology, in engineering, in production of every kind, and yet at the same time, a world that is filled with evils, and the evils are multiplying more rapidly than the progress. Why do we live in such a world?
为什么我们生活在这样一个世界里边呢？
Why cannot we solve all of the problems? Why cannot we have world peace?
为什么我们不能解决这些问题？为什么我们没有世界的和平？
I can answer in just 2 words: human nature.
我的回答就是2个字，这就是人性。
Human nature always seeks to get and to take, but has no concern for the good of others.
人性就是这样子，他们只想拿走，只想得到，但是从来没有想到给别人。
If we're going to have real world peace, we will have to overcome that tendency of human nature.
如果我们想得到真正的世界和平，我们就必须克服人性当中的这种弱点。
We cannot, there's an old saying, you cannot teach old dogs new tricks.
我们有一种传统的讲法，就是你不能教给那些老狗新的花招。
If we try to reform the thinking and the ways of mature and older people, we shall never succeed.
如果我们想改变那些成熟的成人的思想和生活方式，我们是永远不会成功的。
The only hope for world peace lies in teaching children and little children and young people, beginning at a very early age, the way of generosity, the way of giving, of sharing what they have with others, the way of having concern for the good of others. And that must begin with little children.
这种工作呢，必须从儿童就开始做起。
We cannot change the selfish living habits of adults and older people.
我们是不能改变那些成人的自私的生活方式的。
That is one reason we're so interested in proper teaching and education for the little children.
这就是我们为什么对这个正当的教育儿童和青少年的这个原因。
I can just say that when it comes to world peace, I will have to agree with the editor of a large business magazine in the United States, who said it would now seem that the world's only hope lies in the sudden appearance of an unseen strong hand from someplace. That editor was referring to the great Creator who created us all out of the ground, all of one human flesh.
这个编辑所指的就是我们的造物主。
And I can tell you that that great Creator is going to appear, is the unseen hand that will come and save us.
我要告诉你们大家，这个造物主是会出现的，这种没有看见过的手也会出现的。
But even then, he will have to begin with the teaching of little children and teaching them to grow up until we all come to have a different nature of caring for other people, of having a real care and concern for the good of other people instead of just selfishness for our own selves. Now that day will come, but meanwhile, we must work every way we can for peace. The best we can. Our efforts now are not going to bring peace immediately. It is going to take generations. But in time, world peace is going to come. I just wanted to give that message, and that is why we are interested with you in world peace among people, among nations, the best way we can now, and why we are so much interested in the teaching of young children and young people. Therein is our only hope for the future.
The next day, Mr. Armstrong flew to Shanghai, China's largest city and one of the great cities of the world. It is a major port, manufacturing, and commercial center. At the cemetery park, Mr. Armstrong visited the grave of Soong Ching Ling. The quiet dignity of its setting reflects the honor with which the Chinese people remember this great lady. Next morning, Mr. Armstrong met Wang Daohan, the mayor of Shanghai. The mayor presented Mr. Armstrong with a tapestry depicting scenes of Chinese life during the Tang Dynasty. Following the reception, a luncheon was held in his honor.
Mr. Chairman, 我们知道主席先生，你们在北京和我们的邓小平主席有了很好的谈话。
We know that you had a very good talk with our chairman Deng Xiaoping in Beijing.
而这个谈话的主要的内容谈到世界和平，谈到儿童福利，而这些事情也是我们全国人民所关心的和我们上海人民所关心的事情。
We know that you have talked with Mr. Deng on the world peace and on welfare of the children. These topics are we attach great importance both by the Chinese people and people in our city.
我提议我们大家举杯，为我们中美两国人民的友谊，为阿姆斯特朗先生的他的长寿，为在座的各位贵宾们的健康。
Would you all raise your glasses and join me in a toast to the friendship between the peoples of China and the United States, to the longevity of Mr. Armstrong, and to the health of all the other American guests present here.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I would like to respond with a toast to the Honorable Mayor of your city, Mr. Wong.
我想，刚才汪市长阁下，做了酒，我想也来，做一个酒。
And I certainly want to congratulate the city on its interest in children and in culture and in all of the things that make toward peace. And if we are to have peace, it must begin with the little children. We must begin to teach little children to give instead of just to take. Now, when you sent the little ambassadors from Shanghai to the United States, there were lovable children. And they were the best ambassadors that the nation of China could possibly have sent. They did you great credit. They won sympathy and love and friendship, and they helped toward peace. They are talented. They're very talented young children, and they're also very lovable. And I was so greatly honored when they called me their grandfather. And I call them my Chinese grandchildren. And I hope to see them this afternoon. I love them.
The Shanghai Children's Palace was established 30 years ago by Madame Sung Ching Ling. It provides education and training in music, dance, art, science, and crafts for over 2,000 Shanghai children. This palace was the first of over 4,000 similar facilities in all parts of China. It was from this Shanghai Children's Palace that the children were selected to tour the United States. The children had come to know Mr. Armstrong well while visiting America, and they prepared an unforgettable welcome for him. On his final evening in China, Mr. Armstrong was honored at a dinner at the Jinjiang Club in Shanghai by Mayor Wang and other Chinese officials who had helped him in his memorable 6 days in the People's Republic of China. There, Mr. Armstrong again stressed the importance of the proper teaching of little children.
The reason for all of the troubles in the world could be stated in just 2 words: human nature. And human nature is an acquired type of attitude and intention of mind. We were not born with human nature, we acquired it after we were born. The best hope that we humans have of bringing world peace does not come just alone from our efforts as adults, but is going to come through the training of little children before they acquire this human nature, and teaching them to be generous and to give. So I am so happy that our foundations are joining hands together to work not only for world peace, but also to promote everything we can for the teaching and the training and culture of little children. And now, before closing this program, I want to tell you once again about the magazine we publish, Youth 85. Youth 85. I wish there had been a magazine like this when I was a teenager. Youth 85 is a magazine of intense interest to youths of all ages up to 92, my own age. I find it exceedingly interesting, and it's educational as well as entertaining. It covers sports. It covers the activities of youth. It's a full-color magazine, profusely illustrated. Now, there's no subscription price. You don't have enough money to buy a subscription, but you may have a copy just for subscribing. That's all you need to do. Now, also, I want to offer you a booklet that I've offered 2 or 3 times on this program. The booklet is titled Never Before Understood: Why Humanity Cannot Solve Its Problems. It's something that has never been understood, why people cannot solve their problems. You need to have that booklet. Then another magazine, which I think is the most important magazine in the world today, and one of the largest circulated magazines on the face of the earth, The Plain Truth. The Plain Truth, a magazine of understanding. Circulation is now well over 7 million copies every month. It's also a handsome magazine in full color, well illustrated, a leading magazine in every sense of the word, a magazine covering world news, where it's leading, giving you an understanding of the news in the world, of what is happening every day. You can really understand and know that you understand what is taking place in the world and where it's leading. There is no magazine like The Plain Truth. It is unique in every way, and there is no subscription price. There is no charge for the booklet. There's no subscription price for either magazine. Now, you just send your request to me, Herbert W. Armstrong, at Pasadena, California. If you write, the zip code is 91123. But better yet, go to the telephone and make a toll-free call. There's no charge for this either. It's toll-free. And you call 1-800-423-4444. You dial 1 first, of course, then 800-423-4444. So until next time, Herbert W. Armstrong, goodbye, friends.